Pets Add Life, your guide to the latest in pet trends, products, and the joy of the human-animal bond, with Kristen Levine and Chris Bonifati, powered by the American Pet Products Association and Dog TV.
Hey, Chris.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody.
What's wrong? What's wrong?
I mean, I was at a
exhale?
wedding last night, and now we're actually recording this at 5:30 a.m. in a warehouse, everybody. They woke me up. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep and a gin martini, so this is going to be one heck of an episode. But I want to say thank you, everybody, to listening to the PAL podcast. I'm Chris Bonifati, and I'm joined, as always, by the acute and astute Kristen Levine.
Oh, I like that
Kristen,
one. Acute
we know
and astute.
I'm tired, but you're looking lovely and full of energy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I did not attend a wedding last night. I was not drinking until 1 a.m., so I'm doing great.
There we go. Those are positive. Those are positive things. But this week we are talking about everybody's favorite kind of pet. That's right. The chunky, the absolute units, the roly-polies, the fluffers. It is Pet Obesity Awareness Week. So we're going to be talking about, some tips and tricks on how to curb the weight of your favorite little roly-polies. We've got some great guests lined up. We're going to share a couple stories. We're going to share a couple products. We're going to answer some of your questions. And I think that's all that's on the menu.
I think so, too. I would just add that there's a very important reason why it's important that your pet is at a healthy weight. Several important reasons, so we're going to cover off on those too. So important topic, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it like we always do.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Kristen and Chris present Storytime.
Okay, so Kristen, my story is I saw this article here that was from like a local Cincinnati news network brought in a few veterinarians to talk about pet insurance. And I thought that was a great thing to talk about. You know, we're talking about getting our animals' health in order this week. And pet insurance is one of those things it's been around, but it's kind of new still. Like, it feels new. The companies are still figuring out. And with insurance, the way it works is the more people who use it, sort of the better insurance becomes, right? As you increase that pool. So we're kind of in this growth stage with insurance. And a lot of people are asking about it, confused what to get. And there was some interesting stuff in here. One of the vets was talking about the difference between total wellness care and then emergency and procedural care.
Right.
And they actually recommend that the illness care is better bang for your buck. Wellness is actually going to cost you less paying out of pocket, if you're just doing the regular vet visits. But it's when those bills become large and you have to have some type of procedure, or the animal is sick and needs medicine. Mm-hmm. I think most of us would agree that, generally speaking, our 6-month checkups, they're not breaking the bank. Mm-hmm. It's I pay, I think it's like $170. They get the checkup, the x-rays, whatever they do at the vet. I really don't know. I'm not, but nonetheless, that's an expected expense. It's in the budget. I know it's coming. It's when those surprises pop up, right? That it can be devastating.
Yeah, because those surprises, whether it be illness or injury, can be very, very expensive. And that's what we don't budget for those kinds of things. I mean, if we were, good about having a little savings account for our pet, if an emergency were to happen, we wouldn't need pet insurance. But I don't. Right. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not that diligent about it. So I've always had, I shouldn't say I've always had pet insurance, but for the past 10, 12 years, I've had pet insurance for my pets, and it's been a lifesaver. I'm
going to be taking my first foray into it. Tiger does not have insurance because Tiger was born before pet insurance was a thing. That archaic being. But it's been very interesting reading about all this stuff. But with animal or pet, I think it's Pet Obesity Awareness Week this week. If your pet is overweight, they're at risk for some of those unplanned illnesses popping up. So your choices that I would recommend is either A, get that animal in shape, like give them a little Rocky montage and really get them going. Or B, start looking into pet insurance. My brother just recently went through the journey. He just adopted a new kitten, Clyde.
Oh, Clyde.
And Clyde had a gastrointestinal issue. And luckily there was insurance involved and all that kind of stuff. So it ended up, the cat has the medicine now, everything's all good. But why take that risk at this point with those unexpected expenses? So I thought it was an interesting read. I thought it was great to get some of these vets' take on it, on where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And I think it's great that not only is the industry going, there's some corporations that include pet insurance in their benefits package. So
that's right. It's becoming
if you're you know what, Pete, if you're listening to this episode, Pete,
I mean, seriously, how could the American Pet Products Association not offer their employees pet insurance as a benefit? Okay.
That might have just gotten me fired, but I said it.
Well, and I just want to add to that because I used to write a lot about pet insurance on the Pet Living blog. And I can tell you that veterinarians love it when you have pet insurance because they're able to proceed with plan A, with the best plan for your pet's, recovery or treatment or what have you. But all too often the pet parent isn't prepared for that expense. And so, the vet has to kind of offer a plan B or plan C, and everybody wants the best for the pet. And all too often we have to make decisions based on finances, and having pet insurance removes that element of the decision.
Absolutely. You are, as always, completely right.
Oh, please.
What
tell
you got
my
for us,
husband
Kristen?
that.
What's your story?
Well, Chris, we are vibing today because my story is also a pet insurance story.
Oh, wow. Is it from a local Cincinnati news station?
I got to say, I was worried when you said you had a pet insurance story. I'm like, oh, man, I got to pick another story now. But this one is not. This is, have you ever heard of the annual Ham Bone Awards?
No, I cannot say I have.
Okay, so Nationwide Pet Insurance does this contest every year where they award the most unique or unusual pet insurance claims, and it's hilarious. So let me see here. A dog named Luna, she's from Massachusetts. She pulled out an entire kitchen cabinet and 8 corn cobs out of the trash when her mom left the house for a little bit. Now, apparently her mom, they've been crate training Luna, but she doesn't like to be in her crate. So her mom thought, well, I'm just going to run a quick errand. I'm going to let her have quick one.
Famous last words.
That's how the stories always start. So she leaves Luna for like 15, 20 minutes to run to the store. She comes back and she says, I looked up the stairs and saw my cabinet was gone. and she pulled out the entire thing, including the track and the barrel. I guess the trash barrel. This is probably, I'm guessing it was the cabinet that has the trash in it.
Yeah.
So the trash barrel was flung into the dining room, and not only had she torn apart the cabinet, but she had gobbled down a couple of corn cobs. Which this is where the problem comes in, because that can cause intestinal obstructions. So Lori did the right thing. She, rather than being angry at Luna, she scooped her up, put her in the car, and took her straight to the vet, where they were able to treat her and had a very good end result. So Luna won the Ham Bone Award this year.
Oh, Luna. Congrats, Luna. Yeah, put that ham bone right next to those corn cobs.
And she actually there's a picture of her with her little Ham Bone Award. It looks like a Grammy. It's got a little ham bone on it. And I was trying to find the other two, because there were a couple runners up, and let me see who they are. The one runner up was Archie, who literally ran through the front door. I guess it obviously had a glass, panel, ran through the front door to greet the postman. So
that's Looney Tunes stuff.
That is Looney Tunes.
I bet you before he started running, he did like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Took off.
I'm sure. But anyway, just another reason to have pet insurance, because you don't know what those crazy pets are going to do.
And maybe, just maybe, your story will be wild enough to earn you a Ham Bone Award.
Right?
Which is awesome. That's a great story, Kristen.
Beyond the Leash, exploring the untold stories of pet passion and professionalism.
Our guest now is Molly DeVoss. She's a highly certified and dedicated feline behavior specialist with a mission to transform the lives of cats and their guardians. That's us. With credentials including certified feline training and behavior specialist, certified cat behavior consultant, fear-free certified trainer, and certified Reiki master and teacher, Molly brings a wealth of knowledge and compassion to her work. She utilizes positive reinforcement techniques to modify and prevent unwanted behaviors in cats, and helping cats express their natural instincts in ways that are harmonious with their human families. Molly splits her time between Dallas and Santa Fe, New Mexico, with her husband Dewey and her cat, I love this name, Pico de Gato. Welcome, Molly. That's my favorite cat name. I love that. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Love to talk about cats anytime, anywhere.
Me too. Me too.
Well, we love it too, Chris especially. So, Molly, what are some of the common misconceptions that people have about cat behavior, and how can understanding those things help improve our relationship with our kitties?
Well, cats, I think the most important thing for people to understand is that cats really haven't evolved all that much from their wild cat ancestors, both physically and physiologically, and really in a lot of ways emotionally. They have learned, there have been some changes in their brains that allows them to not be as fearful of us, but they need in the home all the things that they would naturally be doing out there in the wild. And that goes to everything to what we're feeding them and their activities and how they're using the bathroom and so many things. So I think that's the main thing, is study their wildcat ancestors and facilitate those behaviors in your home.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I hear a lot of people try to tell me cats are not trainable. You can't train a cat. You can't get them. And I already see the look on your face. Foolish. They are fools. So explain to them how wrong they are.
In fact, I did a clicker training class just these last 2 weekends here locally. You can absolutely teach a cat to do anything it wants to do, right?
Anything it wants to do. I love that little caveat in there. Anything it wants to do. Yeah, absolutely.
But training cats is so important because, they lose when we keep them in captivity. And I recommend that. I don't recommend letting your cats live outdoors because that's natural. Build a catio. That's awesome. But do keep your cats confined indoors because it's safer and they live longer. But they need that mental stimulation of problem solving. That's so important. They lose that when we keep them in captivity. And so training helps them to figure out what's going on. And the big difference between training a dog and a cat is a dog will do something to please you. A cat will do something for the treat that you give it. So it's very important to have a high value treat when you're training a cat. And then once it kind of gets it, the cat thinks it's trained you. The cat thinks, oh, watch, I know how to get her to give me a treat. All I have to do is sit up and I get a treat.
That's great. That's great. So you just mentioned that you were doing some clicker training recently. What are some of the common things that you were teaching people to teach their cats to do?
Well, one of the things, first, again, we start off with a high quality treat and one that's easy to dispense and doesn't get them too full. Because as soon as the cat's full, it's over. A clicker training and a training session is over. I like to use the lick and lap treats because they're liquid and they're easy to dispense. So the first thing I teach them is come. And we use visual cues with cats. Cats pick up on visual cues, I think, much quicker than they do auditory cues. So we teach them come, and then we teach them to follow the finger, and we turn that into spin. And then the really good students, we can teach sit, and then up, and then we'll teach them to start jumping through hoops and things like that. So at this last class, we were able to get to all of that in the class. It was lots of fun.
That's awesome.
come to Santa Fe. I'll do a clicker training class for you.
I feel like I need clicker training, not even my cat.
Well,
like
it does
we got to
work
get
on-
Chris clicker trained. Yeah, I'm food motivated, so I think it would work.
Yeah.
Positive reinforcement works for all species.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we mentioned during the introduction that you're a Reiki master. So how do you integrate Reiki into your work with cats? And maybe for some of the folks out there, definitely not me, who may not be familiar with what Reiki is, can you give a quick rundown and how you use it to help benefit cats and their behavior?
Sure. Reiki is an energy healing. We basically take energy, but that's free energy all around us, and channel that into usually laying of hands or hands close to the animal. We do distance Reiki as well. But I use my Reiki primarily in a shelter setting. So I deal with the highly stressed cats in a shelter. I have a national free to shelters program. I'm going to make a little plug for it because it's free. Go to www.felinerightAtHome.com and shelters can join for free. And I teach the volunteers and staff how to work with the highly stressed cats. Well, another aspect of that is delivering Reiki helps calm them down. It also helps when I'm fostering. I like to foster cats with amputations, hip FHO, which is a hip surgery. The Reiki helps healing to happen faster. So I use it primarily there. I'll use it if I'm in a consult with a client and I can detect that there's some stress coming from the environment. It'll just helps to calm and reduce the stress in the cat.
Molly, I know you mentioned working with shelter cats, and I know one of your passions is reducing euthanasia of cats in shelters. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the programs that have been particularly effective in achieving that goal?
Absolutely. So, behavior issues are a big reason why people surrender their cats. They're either fighting with the other cat and they don't think they can resolve it, or they've stopped using the litter box, or they've become aggressive to the humans, and they don't feel like they can live with this animal any longer, and they surrender them to the shelter. Shelter euthanasia is the number one cause of death in cats in the United States. We euthanize a lot of cats. And when cats get into the shelter, then they are highly stressed, more so than dogs, because cats are very, very territorial. So we've now removed them from their familiar territory and plopped them down into this strange environment with a bunch of strange cats around, and they're being handled in ways that they may not want to be. And it's just a horrible situation. So, and we're confining them to a tiny cell. So a lot of times they'll react with defensive aggression. And shelters are sadly just overflowing right now with animals, and capacity for care is stretched super thin. And when you get to that standpoint, you have to look around a shelter and go, we've got to make space. So what do you look at? You look at the animals that are least adoptable. And those are the stressed animals that may be displaying aggression, or certainly not allowing people to touch them and pet them and act like the cute little kitties everybody wants to come adopt. So they're very much at risk. So my goal is to help people keep cats in the home once a bad behavior has developed. But more than that, I want people to learn how to keep that cat happy in the home before the behavior even develops. So really preventative measures are where we start. And sadly, I have to intervene once there is a problem already developed in the home, or once the cat's in the shelter and become a problem in the shelter. So this program, we teach behavior modification tools. So it teaches them how to bond with the cats, how to make the cats more trusting. And Vitacraft has sponsored it. They're actually the makers of this treat that cats just love. I tried every treat under the sun, and that's the one. So they're providing free treats to the shelter so that this bonding process can happen. So we do counter conditioning. We do operant conditioning. We do some clicker training with our overstimulated cats in the shelter. So I teach all these behavior modification tools through the Feline Right at Home program so that these cats can come around faster and hopefully not be a sad statistic.
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing work, Molly. And now that you mention it, when this episode airs, we'll be in the midst of Pet Obesity Awareness Week. So there's going to be some folks at home attempting to change the eating habits and behavior of their potentially slightly chonky, rotund cats. So do you have any advice for folks out there who are going to have to start changing their cat's diet and adjusting them to a healthier lifestyle, some tools or tricks they could use to make that transition a bit easier?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, they say that 60%, over 60% of cats are obese, but that data comes from the Veterinary Association. And remember that less than or more than 50% of people don't even take their cats to the vet. So my assumption from what I've seen is it's more about 85% of cats are obese. Now, I would recommend that first of all, you Google feline body score chart, because we don't have a healthy image of what a cat should look like in a healthy weight state. So first of all, figure out, is your cat really obese? The vet probably isn't going to address it with you. Maybe they see too many, maybe they're in a hurry, whatever. So the first thing is stop free feeding. Yeah. Cats should not be allowed to free feed. They really need to eat meals. Not only is that better for their weight and their health, but it's better for them mentally, because that's more what they do in the wild. They don't just free feed in the wild. They have to work for their food. Secondly, I'd say stop feeding dry food. They don't have the carbohydrates or the enzymes to break down carbohydrates in food. And so just like with us, that turns to fat. And you can always tell a carb cat body. They're a little rounder. They're not as lean, muscle, curvy as a cat should look. And dry food, also dehydrates them. So indulge them in that wet food. A lot of people think, they're going to get fat on wet food. It's just the opposite. They're going to be able to build leaner muscle because there's a whole lot more protein in the canned food than there is in dry food. I have, on my YouTube channel, I have lots and lots of free webinars. There's one on nutrition that you can go look at and take a deep dive into what cats need. They are obligate carnivores. They don't need vegetables or fruits and things like that. Dog's an omnivore. They can eat just about anything. But a cat's digestive system is the equivalent of like a Ferrari engine. You got to keep it just really fine-tuned. You got to be careful what kind of fuel you put in there for it to run properly. So it's a huge, huge, huge part of cats feeling well. Cats feeling secure. When cats don't feel secure in their environment, behavior issues start to come out. It's also a big component of them feeling like there's enough resources in a multi-cat home. When you're free feeding in a multi-cat home, it's the worst thing you can do. They need meals. They need to be fed far apart because there's nothing natural about them eating together. Right. And keep your treats wet too. I think those are better treats, like these that are high in taurine and have moisture content in them are really better, because all those little calories add up too, just like us when we get up to go snack in the middle of the day. It all adds up.
It does.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So, Molly, that's so much great information here. You are truly the cat whisperer. Where can people find you? Either cat parents that want to find your resources, or animal shelters. What's the best way to find you?
So go to catbehaviorsolutions.org.
Okay.
And I also have a podcast, cattalkradio.com.
Awesome.
And that's where we have weekly episodes of cat care. That's where we're building up a library of how to care for your cat, how to do some of these preventative things. And then felinerightathome.com is the free shelter program where shelters can sign up and it's all online, self-paced. We'll train your volunteers and staff for free, and you get the free treats for your shelter cats too. So that's awesome.
A win-win-win.
It is.
That sounds great. Well, Molly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to share some of your expertise. For those of you listening at home, take advantage of these free tools. Ignorance is a choice. There are so many great resources out there, Molly's included. So Molly, thank you so much for coming on and educating us. And hopefully we'll be hearing from you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today. And I look forward to coming back.
Pets add life.
Kristen, I got to say, the more cat experts we have on talking about cat diet and good habits, the more I realize that Tiger is a unicorn. There's no cat like her. Molly was saying, don't let them free range on dry food. There's a big bowl of dry food at my home right now that Tiger might take one bite out of today if she gets a little peckish during the afternoon.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she grazes. And even if I put down, fresh little can of wet food, she will take a couple of bites. Then she'll ask to take a drink from the sink, and then she'll go lay down and she'll come back to it later.
So she has very healthy eating habits.
Yeah, she's a great healthy weight, especially for her age. So very strange.
Well, this is just another example of why you should not, don't be a Chris. Because
don't be a Chris.
It's working for Tiger, but that is unusual because she is a unicorn cat.
When we decide to adopt new kittens down the line here, I just feel like I'm going to be in for such a wake up call. I feel like I've been on easy street now I've built myself as like this cat expert, and then things are going to get hard and I'm going to fall apart.
Well, you have plenty of people like Molly DeVoss to look to.
Yes. Exactly.
All right, let's go to our next guest now.
Pets add life.
Joining us now is Kelly Kanaras, the Director of Communications and Membership at the Pet Food Institute, where she leads the organization's communications and public relations efforts. With a strong background in advocacy and marketing, Kelly plays a pivotal role in representing PFI's mission to promote pet food safety and nutrition. Before joining PFI, she served as the Director of Industry Promotion for the National Asphalt Pavement Association. I'm telling you, people, there's an association for everything. For nearly 11 years, where she spearheaded successful campaigns like the award-winning Watch for Us initiative. Kelly holds a bachelor's degree in communications from University of Maryland Global Campus. She is from Maryland with her 2 sons, 2 dogs, and a cat, truly embodying her deep passion for both family and pets. Kelly, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast this morning.
Thank you so much for having me here. I have to tell you that talking about pets is far more interesting than talking about asphalt. So I'm glad I made the jump.
Well, I've seen pictures and videos from the World of Pavement show. And, I always talk about how people would be blown away if they ever went to Global Pet Expo. A lot of the consumers out there, they never get to experience it. But the World of Asphalt, that show is amazing. So it really is. It's really all about the presentation of some of these things.
Absolutely. That place is a little boy's dream world.
Yes. If you like paving, you would be in business. But we're here. We're talking about the fact that it's Pet Obesity Awareness Week. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who have big, chunky guys and gals, big floofers, absolute units. So the first question that I want to pose here is, if I'm a person at home and I'm staring down at the ground at my big round pug or my fat cat, and I'm realizing, okay, this is an issue. We have to fix some things. What should my first step be? What should I really start mulling over in my mind if I want to make those kinds of changes?
Well, first, I would back up just a little bit and say you need to be aware that your pet actually has a weight issue. And the unfortunate thing is that the vast majority of pet owners don't recognize that their pet is overweight. And 43% of people surveyed said they don't really talk about it with their veterinarian at well visits. So it's a topic that's avoided. So recognize it first, do an evaluation of your pet, and see, are they at a healthy weight? But the first thing you need to do is go to your veterinarian, say you have a weight issue with your pet, and ask your veterinarian for what the caloric guidelines are for your pet. And then stick to those guidelines. A lot of people are out there and they're not measuring their pet's food with a standard measuring device. They're out there with a coffee cup or a Slurpee cup or something like that and dumping way more pet food in their dog's or cat's bowl than what they should have. And so we need to standardize. We need to know how many calories our pet should be eating. Potentially your vet might provide a therapeutic diet, a prescription diet for weight loss for your pet. And then the next thing is keep the treats and the table scraps down to less than 10% of their caloric allotment daily.
Yeah, that's.
I think that during COVID, especially, we were trying to keep our pets quiet. We're all working from home. We're having meetings. The pets are barking. They're in our faces. And we're stuffing Kongs with peanut butter. And that's a lot of calories to feed our pets. And they're quiet for a while, but there's a cost to that.
Yeah, when I'm full, I'm quiet too.
Right.
Like when I've had a lot of junk food, I get really quiet as well.
Kelly, this is a topic I relate to personally because we have a little miniature pincher Chihuahua mix named Tulip, and according to our veterinarian, she should weigh about 15 pounds. And at one point, she was topping 18.8 pounds or something like that. And I have a husband who likes to show his love for her through treats. Mm-hmm. And so we've had a few arguments about this, but that one of the things that we started doing was not only measuring her food daily so that we're giving her a consistent amount, but also like she's allowed to have like 6 of these little treats a day. And I put them out on the counter in the morning, and when they're gone, they're gone. But I have a feeling my husband still sneaks her extra treats when I'm not looking.
I'm going to let you in on a secret, Kristen. He's absolutely 100% doing that.
That's why he's her favorite. Or he's her favorite.
Well, that's absolutely true. And I think in this country, we tend to equate love with food so often. We do it as people too. And we need to find other ways to show our affection and love to our pets besides feeding them treats, like playing with them with a toy or taking them out for a walk. And that studies have shown that's good for us too. If we get out with our pets and walk them, it's not only good for them, it's good for us. And it keeps the treats out of their mouth and reduces the calories that they're consuming so that they can be at a healthy weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you just shared some really great tips, obviously talking to your veterinarian, using a measuring device for the food intake and keeping treats to about 10% a day. I noticed on the Pet Food Institute website, there are also some really helpful tools for pet owners.
We do have a few. We've got our Vet Talks video series, and one of the videos that was done, it's from a certified veterinary nutritionist, and it talks about how you can evaluate your pet's weight to find out if they are at an unhealthy weight. And then the subsequent video talks about tips to help your pet get to be at a healthy weight. The one I'm really excited about, though, is we do have an infographic on our website that you can print out, you can take to your veterinarian. Your veterinarian can write down the calories that your pet should be consuming and how much food they should be consuming, and then track that weight. And it also shows pet owners the dangers and the health issues that come with their pet being overweight. And it is cute, it's fluffy, and it's adorable and everything like that. But it comes at a price because studies show that dogs that are at a healthy weight can live 2.5 years longer. And who wouldn't want 2.5 years more with their best friend?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a Maine Coon growing up who is giant. At his healthiest, he was about 18 pounds when he was healthy. But my family being an Italian household, that cat was allowed to bloom to a nice hefty 25 pounds. And he ended up with a lot of back hip issues because while he was still muscular and strong, his bones could not support that much weight. And he was an active cat. He was an outdoor cat. He'd go outside. He'd jump around after the birds and the bunnies and stuff. And his quality of life started to plummet before we put him on a very strict diet. So it's absolutely true that, they look cute, but animals can't express pain in the same way that we can. They're going to keep it very subtle. Their instinct is to not complain, generally speaking. So you really don't know how much suffering that you may be causing by just giving them as much food as they could possibly shove down their cute little gullets.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And what's surprising to me in a lot of ways is how the internet is really normalizing this. I did a quick search on Reddit and on Instagram looking for accounts that talk about chunky and floofy pets. There are tens of millions of followers that are watching these animals and thinking it's adorable. And it's really such a health detriment to them to be at that kind of weight. And unfortunately, the statistics are showing that the amount of overweight pets in our country is increasing every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's believable. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Definitely believable.
Yeah, and I was just about to ask what your biggest challenge is, Kelly, in educating consumers and other stakeholders about pet food safety and pet obesity. And you just mentioned one of the big challenges, which is people celebrating the chubby, cute, floofiness. That's a big challenge.
100%. And I would say definitely the gap and the disparity between the amount of pets that are overweight and the amount of people and pet owners that actually recognize that their pet is overweight. You can't fix a problem if you don't see that it's a problem and you don't act on it. And I would also say, I would add I think there's a fear factor a little bit for veterinarians in bringing it up with pet owners, that the pet owner is going to be upset or take offense. Yeah, so giving veterinarians permission to really address that with pet parents. And that's why we created that infographic, to kind of provide the pathway to open that dialogue with the pet owners and say, I know you think this is adorable, or you don't think that there's an issue here, but we need to talk about this, and you need to see what the health issues are, and we need to take action.
There's a great opportunity for one of those social media accounts to recognize that and to start using their platform, which they've grown through, not the greatest messaging, to educate people. So maybe
that'd be nice, right?
That would be really cool.
But not everybody is as responsible as the Pets at Life podcast.
That is true.
Very true.
Just putting the idea out
there.
I
got to put the energy out there into the universe and hope somebody picks up on it.
Somebody picks it up.
Yep. So Kelly, we're coming up at the end of our time here. For all the folks who are listening at home who want to access that infographic or learn more about things they could do to pay attention to their animals' health and nutrition, where can they find those resources?
Our website address, and it's newly revamped, is www.petfoodinstitute.org. And all those resources are right on there.
We'll link that in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll definitely put it in the notes, but go ahead and check it out, especially those of you who may be staring down at a little rotund cat or dog right now thinking, how can I help? Well, we're here to help. Your vet is here to help. And as always, our wonderful guests like Kelly Kanaras are here to help. So Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us on the podcast today and talk to everybody about these issues. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Kelly.
Have a great day.
Pets Add Life.
Pet obesity is such an important topic. The more I think about it, I think it's a great opportunity for one of those social media influencers that Kelly mentioned, who's, talking about how cute their, fluffy pets are, overweight pets are, to really dive into this educational space and, make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You know what? I'm going to say it. We're calling you out, influencers.
That's right.
That's right. Chris and Kristen are laying down the gauntlet. If you have gotten fame and fortune from posting pictures and videos of your fat animal, well, guess what? We want you to strike it rich by getting them on a diet, okay? I want to see montages. I want to see them in little sweatpants, okay? Talk about these awesome foods that are available. And diet control and behavior control and all of these awesome things, because you can make a real difference doing so.
Yeah, and you could probably attract some pretty nice brand partnerships if you do that.
Oh, yeah. Dollar bills, baby.
That's
Money
right.
talks. Money talks, and hopefully the fat dog goes on walks. It's a bad rhyme. Anyway, let's keep the show moving here. I believe it's time to do our product of the week. Play the jingle, Ron.
The product of the week.
All right, Chris, your turn to go first.
My turn
What's
to
your
go
product?
first. Okay. Well, we're talking Pet Obesity Awareness Week. So there's so much stuff out there to help you exercise your dog, right? There's plenty of products. I decided to obviously be the cat dad, and I was like, man, what if I was thinking, what if Tiger was fat? You know, I've got an indoor cat. I've got limited space. She's not really interested in play. Her diet is pretty strict. She's old. She's not going to change it. Is there something else I could throw in, something weird and out of left field that I would have never found unless I went down this rabbit hole? And I found from a company called Home Groove a cat exercise wheel. It's about 3 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
And it basically is a treadmill for your cats. And it's got sort of like a scratching post material on it. So like it doubles as like both they'll go in there and sort of pull at their nails, but they'll also, once they start to pick up some momentum, I saw the videos of these cats using it, and it's amazing. They'll just go and kind of get their zoomies out. There's some owners who dangled a toy from the top, and they'd sort of like jump up and get it, and then the wheel would spin them around a bit, and they just sort of played around goofily. But I thought it was really cool because, you think like, oh, how much room could that take up? It's 3 feet. So it's really not that much space. It's got this nice fiberboard that the cats are really going to want to dig their nails into. So this is my one caveat. It does say simple installation, which in my experience means block out your entire day to get this thing built. When I see simple installation, that means prepare to get into an argument with your spouse. Right. But that said, there's a couple videos on this Amazon page of the cats using it, and I just thought it's a neat idea because there's all sorts of stuff out there, and for the price here, it's listed at $90. For $90, you could always send it back if it doesn't work. You never know. So yeah, maybe go ahead and check that one out.
Yeah, like a giant hamster wheel for your cat.
That's basically what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and your cat could just walk on it too. They don't even have to like run on it.
Hey, walking is better than nothing. And even if it's only 15 minutes a day, that's 15 minutes more than they were doing the yesterday. So
exactly. That's a good one. And then along the same lines, my product today is a really cool cat toy that just won a Pet Innovation Award. I actually have this cat toy because I was asked to review it many months ago, and then it turns out it wins an award. So look at this. It's called the Catch a Mouse by the Tail. It is a felt toy, but here's the cool part. The tail is 6 feet long. Look at that.
Oh, whoa.
If you're watching on video, I'm just showing you how long this tail is. So this is a really fun toy for a cat. Maybe, if he's not up for the treadmill, or maybe if he's an older cat who has some osteoarthritis, this would be a really fun cat toy for your kitty. And let me just give you some details on it here. 100% pure New Zealand wool. It comes in, they've got a rainbow mouse, they've got a red mouse, and I think they just came out with one other color. But what I like about the tail is, and this is something I learned from a cat behaviorist a few years ago, is when you're playing with your cat, you should never move the toy toward the cat, because that's not what happens in nature, right? The mouse would be moving away from the cat. So you've got the 6 foot long tail to move it away from your cat, or you could even dangle it up in the air. And I don't know, just lots of fun ways to play something different for your cat. And it's called Catch a Mouse by the Tail. It's made by a cat in the
too.
It's so cute. I know. I would just leave this out on the floor. Just as a conversation piece. It's only $16.99. You can get them at Cat in the Box or on Amazon. So
There you go.
Q&As.
Our favorite segment of the show. That's
yes,
right.
of
We are going
course.
to answer. I'm totally baiting you into that one. We're
I
going to
know.
answer 2 questions from our wonderful, our beautiful and handsome audience sent in to us from people just like yourself. So if you're listening to the show and have a question for Chris and Kristen, you could submit your question at petsadlife.org/podcast. Scroll on down to the bottom of the page. You could type in your question right there, or if you're feeling as brave as a cat willing to go on Chris's cat wheel of doom, then you could actually submit a voice memo and we will play your question live on air. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and read a question for you here, Chris. And I got one for
All
you.
right.
And it comes from Mike. Mike is from Austin, Texas, and he wonders, he does not ask, Mike wonders, my dog is overweight and I'm worried about his health. What are the best types of exercise and activities I can do with him to help him lose weight safely?
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike. That's a great question and right on topic for our show this week. So, okay. You say he's overweight, worried about his health, and you're primarily want to know about exercises and activities. So, I would say, does he have, I wish we could ask follow-up questions, Chris, because,
Let's get Mike on.
We don't have all of the information. I do want to first say you always have to consider the caloric intake, as we discussed with Kelly earlier. So putting that aside and assuming that you've done that and you're feeding the appropriate amount of calories to your dog, I would say to put him on an exercise program that fits with his abilities and with his interest. If he loves to go on walks, make sure you're add an extra walk a day. If you say he's overweight, so that could be a little bit more difficult on his joints to go for long walks. So maybe do more frequent, shorter walks during the day. You can also find some toys at home that he can engage with, like more enrichment toys, because when dogs use their brain, that burns a lot of calories too. I think we kind of overlook when we think about burning calories for ourselves or our pets, that our brains burn a lot of calories too. And then I would say talk to your vet. Talk to your vet, because when you say he's overweight, I don't know the age of this dog, but if he's older and overweight, this could become problematic with osteoarthritis. So your vet might have some additional suggestions for how to safely exercise your pup. So there you go.
I've got no notes, Kristen. You absolutely nailed that one.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got a question for you, Chris. And this one comes from Emily in Chicago.
Okay.
Okay, she says, I've heard that feeding habits can contribute to pet obesity. What are some of the feeding strategies to prevent obesity in dogs? And how can I ensure I'm feeding my dog the right amount?
Yeah, and absolutely correct. Who would have thunk that what goes in to an animal can contribute to its weight? Shocking developments here on the Pets Ad Life podcast. But here's where people get stuck. When we are as people, we can say, I'm hungry. And our bodies have evolved to eventually say, I'm not hungry anymore. And we can understand that. We could internalize the fact that food will be available later. We're going to eat again. I just had lunch. I don't need to eat right now. Dinner's going to be in a few hours. We can understand all of that.
Sure.
Dogs can't. You can't explain to your dog that this is the food they're getting for the day, or their next meal will be, at this time, or things like that. So, and dogs, they still have animalistic brains. As much as we've bred them to be domesticated, and all of our animals live these great lives where they always have access to food and they're nice and healthy, they still have that brain chemistry of, I don't know when my next meal is going to get here, so I might as well eat as much as I can right now. And that's a wide majority of dogs. So one thing I recommend is get a feeder that will slow your dog down, get them to eat slower. There's all sorts of puzzle feeders and these ridiculous bowls and sort of funnel bowls that will make it so that whatever you're feeding them, it's just going to take them longer to eat it. Their brain is going to catch up with their stomachs.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to feel more full. It's the same thing with people. When you scarf something down, it's not going to fill you up the same because it takes a bit for your body to catch up and realize that it's eating and your brain to stop sending the hungry signals. Dogs do the same exact thing. So those puzzle feeders are really helpful. And then B, you got to know what a healthy weight for your dog is, right? So ask your vet, this breed, their structure, how much should they weigh? And from there, you could derive how many calories they should be getting in a day with, regular exercise. And then you measure, I think this is a mistake a lot of people make too, is they measure their food by volume, measure it by weight. Anybody, like if you follow any like nutritional or bodybuilding influencers on Instagram, they give you their recipes in weight because that's how we end up at calories, right? Force equals mass times acceleration and that kind of stuff. And that is how heavy the food is, how densely packed it is with nutrients, because not all kibble is created equal. There's going to be some that's really airy and puffy, or with like weird shapes that don't make it settle as well in the cup. So be measuring your dog's food, not just by volume, but also by weight to ensure you're meeting their calorie goals. And the final piece of advice is don't be a sucker. Okay. You got to be strong. If you're expecting that pet to lose weight, you have to be the strong one who says no to treats, no to table scraps. And it stinks when we had our cat on a diet. And he was so big. He was a Maine Coon, so he was a big cat naturally. And to see the little tiny amount of food that we were feeding him, you feel bad, but you have to power through it and know that you're doing what's best for the animal, and that it's their stupid tiny little animal brains that are complaining, that they're actually full and fine. So Emily, those are my 3 tips. Good luck. It's tough. It's tough for the animal. It's tough for the owner to fight through some of those things, but I have a feeling that you're going to be just fine.
That was great advice, Chris. And what's funny about when you're talking about puzzle feeders, dogs actually love the challenge, the mental challenge of using a puzzle feeder. And I don't know why I thought about this, but I thought, how pissed off would you be as a human if somebody put your meal in a puzzle feeder? Like,
well, that's actually goes hand in hand with my opinion on crab legs.
Yes, that's the equivalent of
what is this?
It's way too much work for
way too much
the
work.
The juice is definitely not worth the squeeze there.
No, it's not. Yeah, the crab is not worth the crack. Is that? Can I start using that?
Yeah,
I use juice worth the squeeze all the time. I'm going to start saying the crab just ain't worth the crack, and I'm sure that's going to afford me a lot of opportunities as a speaker. Oh man. Well, listen, thank you, Emily and Mike, for your wonderful and on-topic questions for today. If you are at home listening to the show, you got a little chonker. Hey, first, share a pic with us, man. Tag us on Instagram with all your cute little pics, and then help them lose weight. And while you're around there, drop into our comments, leave us a 5-star review, do that, all that awesome stuff. Share the show with a friend. It's almost Halloween time. Holy crap, we're in October. So if you are planning a cute costume,
we'd love to see that.
We would love to see it. So go ahead and tag us at Pets Ad Life, wherever you're doing your social media nowadays. But we will be back here next Tuesday, as always, without fail. Another great episode.
We never let you down.
Kristen never lets you down. Chris, we'll see. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And until then, be kind to yourself and be kind to your pets. And we'll see you in 1 week's time.
Bye.